my mom started calling about how about coming and opening a hamburger and ice cream parlor with me, and I said no, no, Mom. And then Mom said, well, I tell you what, we'll call it Hamburger Patties Ice Cream Parlor. We both thought that was a cute name. It was. It was a cute name because she was Patties. Patties is a family, you know. We were Mom and Michael Lee and Dad and I started the thing, but it was mostly Mom and Dad. Her Dad was on the road working, sending home money because we didn't have any business. If you try Mother's Bourbon, one of the things that people say about it has just a touch of sweetness to it. And I said, that's because my mother dipped her finger in the damn barrel and made it, swirled it around, and it's got Patty's sweets in it.
Has to be guest centric.
Yeah.
Everything you do has to revolve around that guest.
I'm a professional BSer and storyteller, and he's an fountain figure. He does all the books, takes care of all the money.
A boom kept going off in his head.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I said, you know, you don't have to be. You can follow once in a while. You can see what other big companies are doing, and follow in their lead. I guess
Take an example and expound upon it, improve
yeah.
upon it.
We're always trying, all of us, all 264 of us that are employed, the families and their employees. Um, you know, Patty's is a family, you know. We were Mom and Michael Lee and Dad and I started the thing, but it was mostly Mom and Dad. Our Dad was on the road working, sending home money because we didn't have any business.
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember when Sandy Jackson, Jackson's mom, used to do the books for my mother at the motel, and we started Hamburger Patties, and she stayed the accountant. And I asked her one day, how much money are we going to have to average a day to break even? And she said, well, let me do some figuring. And so she did some figuring, and she came back and she said, you're going to have to do $350 a day. And I'm like, there's no way in heck it's going to ever manage serving breakfast for $1.99. You know, 2 eggs, bacon, sausage, toast, grits, and a cup of coffee for $1.99 in a town of 350 people, you know? And so it was like, and you were competing against the Iron Kettle down the street, which is a smorgasbord of food. You get a ton of food. Well, we, uh, we, you know, it was an impossibility to do that. But now today, the payroll last week was $115,000 for 1 week. It's going into a big company in a really little bitty town. I was a hippie when I was drafted, and you know, I was 21. I got a draft number of 3, and they told me that I had 2 weeks until graduation. Oh my gosh, it's raining.
Yep.
Wesley's out there.
That's not good for pain, is it?
I don't think it's gonna last a few minutes.
It'll cool things off.
It will help.
No, but it doesn't make the surfaces of paint. But anyway, up let dry up. But anyway, I got a notice from the government. You have 2 weeks until graduation, and then after that, you got 12 days to be in the service of your choice. So my father was in the Navy, so I joined the Navy, and I went to boot camp in San Diego. And then I went to data processing A school to learn how to do those computer punch cards that were this big that you
88 character punch cards.
yeah. And I hated that. But then I got accepted to officer candidate school. So I went to officer candidate because I already had a degree. So then I went to officer candidate school, and then I had to decide what I was going to do next. And I decided that I didn't want to shoot anybody. I didn't want to kill anybody. I'm a hippie and I'm a peace, love, make not war, make be happy instead. And so I decided that I would disarm bombs was the most peaceful thing I could possibly do. So I went to EOD school, Explosive Ordnance Disposal School in Indian Head, Maryland, and for another year. And I was one of 25 people out of a class of 125 that graduated from EOD school. Well, the problem was that I'm not very mechanically inclined. It was a good thought,
Yeah.
but
Boom kept going off in his head.
Yeah.
well,
That would
be a
yeah,
concern.
well, I was the first time I went out on the USS Roosevelt after I graduated from all these schools and stuff. They had a fire in the Shrike missile magazine. Well, there were 500 Shrike missiles in the hull or the really belly of the USS Roosevelt. And I had just gotten out of school. I really didn't have any idea how to fight a fire in a Shrike missile magazine. But luckily, there was an ordnance officer on the ship that made the decision to flood the missile magazine. Now, you flood with the 500 missiles, think of the cost,
Yeah.
but I didn't have that thing. So I really, I didn't belong where I got myself into. So luckily the war ended and I was able to get out of the service and I went hitchhiking. I'd worked all my life since I was 10 years old. I worked and I went hitchhiking and I hitchhiked into this little town from Norfolk, Virginia. There wasn't, everything was boarded up, fallen down. The town was not much to write home about.
Right.
Because the new highway, when they built the canal and built the new highway down by the sailboat harbor, then it killed the little town. I think there was like 5 little bait shops and one gas station, maybe or two, and then the grocery store and Craig's Dairy Dream. That was about, I don't think it was called Craig's back then, but there was the Dairy Dream and the Iron Kettle Restaurant. It was about all that was here. And I kept on going. Stopped, said hi to mom and dad, acknowledged their new acquisition of this little motel, and went on to California. I had $1,000 of borrowed money. My grandmother lent me and Michael Lee $1,000. We had started our life together, and we bought an old house that had been the previous owner had put sledgehammers in all the walls and poked holes in all the appliances and poured wax all over the carpets. But we got it for $1,000 down. And I started back to graduate school. I'd been accepted into graduate school. I didn't have any of the scholarships and fellowships that I had been offered when I was finished undergraduate, but they weren't available once I got out of the service. So I went back and bottom line, Mike and I fixed up. Mike was in the Air Force at Dover, Delaware, and he was able to get out, finish his time in the service, and came out there after about 6 months. And we started our life together with over 50 years ago, as of July 24th, and here we are today in this little town. And what we did is we went out and we fixed the house up. My mom taught me how to decorate. That was one of the things about the bombs. I learned that I'm not mechanically inclined, and it was a good idea, but it was a stupid idea.
Yeah.
So I was glad when I was able to get out, but end my time in the service. But I did serve my 4 years, and I was honorably discharged from the Navy. And we started our life together with $1,000 in this old house, and that November, I guess, my mom started calling about how about coming and opening a hamburger and ice cream parlor with me. And I said, no, no, Mom. And then Mom said, well, I tell you what, we'll call it Hamburger Patties Ice Cream Parlor. We both thought that was a cute name. It was. It was a cute name because she was Pattis. And so then my father gets on the phone and calls us and said, and he's going to college. I'm going to graduate school. He's working in a hospital. I'm driving a city bus in Grand Rivers and or in Los Angeles. And he says to me, he says, my dad says, I'll tell you what, you need to come back and take care of your mom and open up this hamburger and ice cream parlor with her while he worked on the road. And I said, Dad, no, I don't want to. So a little bit later, Christmas came along. We got, they tried to break in our house twice on Christmas Eve with my grandmother in the house. Luckily, I was just a few blocks away. But bottom line, Dad calls up and he says, son, I'll offer you 50% of the business after 5 years. And I said, Dad, you're offering me 50% of a non-existent hamburger and ice cream parlor in a town with 350 people? No, not interested.
Yeah.
But after the Christmas Eve, Michael Lee and I were talking, and he said, it's okay if we move. Because he was from a small town in North Carolina. He said, it's okay if we move, but you get one move, just one move. So we've been in the same house when we moved back here. We're in the same house for 48 years now.
So before you get going too much further, there's some new things that I learned already. That you were a bus driver, a city bus driver in Los Angeles.
Making $7.50 an hour when I was 25.
$7.50.
That was a lot of money.
That's a lot.
That was a lot of money. Good money. Yeah, of course, it wasn't easy driving in Los Angeles, but I started working it when I first went out there. I started working for handicapped young adults school program. California was trying to
His
make,
degrees, psychology.
I was going to ask what he was.
and so I taught the kids. I would go and pick them up on the little bus that we had. Then I'd bring them to school, and I was to teach like blind kids and older adults. I mean, adults, young adults, how to cook. So we'd make things like fried bologna and jelly sandwiches, or pancakes or things that teaching them how to feel for the heat, not to put this, they're blind. How do you teach a blind, young, handicapped adult already how to eat? And that was what I started with. Well, after that, I got the school season ended. So when the semester ended, I got a job with the city and I drove my bus all the way from North Hollywood through Hollywood down to downtown Los Angeles, pick up a bus load of people, come out of LA at rush hour about 4:30, make a trip all the way up to Hollywood Boulevard, Sunset Boulevard, ride out Santa Monica Boulevard all the way to the ocean in Malibu, and drive down the coastline through Venice Beach to the end of the Los Angeles airport's runway. And I'd turn around, I'd sit there for maybe 45 minutes on my break, and then I'd drive all the way back to LA and all the way back and then home. So I did it twice a day. It took me 8 hours, twice a day, 2 hours each way. So but I gave it up after mom really wanted us to come, so we decided to come, and we sold our house in 10 minutes. It was the most expensive home ever sold in the neighborhood, and we had 3 people fighting over it. So I may not be very mechanically inclined, but I love to decorate, and we're both good at decorating. So we made the house really nice. And so we sold it and we brought our little $10,000 profit back to Grand Rivers. We had tried to buy the old Nash home down the street here, down at the bottom of the hill. It had been empty for 20 years. So I went to talk to the owner of it before Miss Nash bought it. But I talked to the owner. He said he'd sell it to me for $10,000. Well, I told Linda Ray, at the barbecue stand across the street. And of course, Linda Ray got it to the beauty parlor that I was going to buy the old house. And the next day it sold to the Nash family. Mabel Nash, who ran the Iron Kettle, their family still owns the house. Needless to say, we didn't have a house still. We were living in a little motel room. So then we get to looking at another house. 2 doors down from our house was built in 1890. It didn't have half the windows and doors in it. It had no siding on it other than the wood siding. It had no electrical and no plumbing in it. It was falling down. But Mom and Mike and I went up to St. Louis to meet with Miss Sexton, who owned the house and had owned it for years. It's an empty house. And talked to her on a Sunday night about buying that house. She said she'd sell it for $10,000. Well, the next morning, her son sold it to somebody else. So I'm sitting there thinking, oh, hell. Well, to be honest with you, I read a little book that night. It's called On Top of the Mountain. And it said, when life gets so hard, just get down on your knees and turn it over to God. So I got down on my knees and I told God, I said, look, I thought you wanted us to come here and build a little piece of heaven here on earth. And I said, I ain't going to stay in a little room that was smaller than this little room here for the rest of my life. We got to do something different. Well, Mr. Jolly owned our old house. He had had his mother and sisters live in it. He had bought it, and his mom died after his sisters died, and she died, and the state left because she left no will. The state had told Roy he had to split the value from selling the house with his sisters. He said, hell no, it can rot and fall down. So it had been empty for 15 years, right? Yeah. And he wouldn't sell it to anybody. I tried, and he wouldn't sell it. Well, the next morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, I got a phone call from Mr. Jolly, and he said, I want you to have the house. And we paid 25,000 for the house. But Mom and Dad and I moved out of the hotel, little motel, and lived in the house together. But we had to, Michael Lee and my mom and Pat Long, Pat Moore, and Wayne Moore did a lot of work helping us restore it because it only had 2 light sockets and 2 wall sockets.
Yeah.
Had a wood burning stove in the kitchen, a 1-hole copper sink in the kitchen, and an old wood ice box that held nothing but a block of ice in it. It had been like a time capsule when, this is 50 years almost ago. But that's how we started in Grand Rivers, and we have taken every dollar that anyone has ever given to us and basically put it right back in the town, give or take a few dollars.
Grand Rivers didn't get electricity till after World War II.
Really?
We're pretty well respected in our community, and after all the years, and culminating on my birthday, Governor Steve Beshear is sending me a personal thank
Video
you,
message.
thank you video message. I mean, from the governor, for God's sakes. I to have your families and our work, 48 years of work, 7 days a week. We're still working 7 days a week, but all our families have the governor take a few minutes to send a birthday wish and a thank you note for doing all that we've done was really special. I mean, it really was very special.
That was a nice thing. I watched it, and I didn't. I had caught that a little late, and you told me to go check that out, and I could tell that it meant a lot to you for him to do that, and I appreciate that someone in his position can really see what has happened here. Some people sometimes I was just talking to a fellow yesterday. He's like, a lot of times we feel like Western Kentucky it's a little forgot, and especially from my area, which is far western, where I live now, and for the governor to do that and recognize what you guys have done here.
I bet there are parts of Eastern Kentucky that feel the same way.
Probably, I'm sure.
But Pattis has grown to be recognized worldwide now. I mean, it's amazing we get people from all over the world that come here, but I think one of the greatest honors we've achieved so far, I mean, we've had a lot of honors, but um, last year when Google awarded us one of the top 100 restaurants in the nation, romantic restaurants in the nation,
Yeah.
you know, thinking about my mother and
That was open table.
open table.
Yeah.
Okay, open table. Sorry, guys. But open table. Do have somebody recognize you like that among when you're in a town of 347 people and you look at the other 99 and they're big restaurant conglomerates and big hotels and marinas and stuff like that with people with lots of money, and that isn't something we've ever had. So was a great honor, but the idea of it being my mother and her name and her memory that we both honor as my mother and my father's respiratory. It, you don't see us too much, but mom and dad, we honor them the way it says in the Bible to honor your mother and father. But we do actually honor our families and friends. Different rooms are named after parts of the family and different members. And your aunt, Miss Ella Mae's, even got Ella Mae's chicken still on the rest of the menu after all these years. It's a real, but that award and that recognition both were amazing. But Joe, I'll tell you what, Governor Patton told me and Bill Gary that Green Trail Bay that if we could get the law that Bill Gary, who is former owner of Green Turtle Bay, if he could get the liquor law addressed and gone to the state house and all this and passed, would you sign it? And Governor Patton said, Chip, I will. I'll sign it. Well, Bill always was a Republican. I'm more of a liberal Democrat. So we worked each side of the fence, you know. And together, at the time, I was voted the president, made the president of the state restaurant association, and I was also the head of the legal arm of the restaurant association at the time, legislative arm. And so I was able to introduce the liquor bill to the government, and we got within one vote. And we called David Denton, who bought all of Marina Village, he and Brad Otterman and Bill Schrader, and he voted for it. He got somebody to vote for it, and so we won by one vote. So then Grand Rivers has an opportunity with 5 other little towns along the river systems had a right to vote themselves wet without the whole county, because it used to be totally a population game. You had to be so big before you could even consider going wet. But we were too small. So we got the bill passed, and so we had the election here in Grand Rivers, and 82% of the population. Now, have you ever heard of an election garnering 82% of the vote? Well, it did in Grand Rivers, and we lost.
Wow. You lost.
But Calvert City went west.
That's right.
Yeah,
That
Calvert
howdy.
City and Mayfield and Hopkinsville, I think it was, all and Murray.
Bill was already wet.
Murray. Maybe it was Murray that went wet. Anyway, three of the little out of the 5 went wet.
Yeah.
And so we had to wait and wait and wait until we finally um, were able to reintroduce the bill to the town.
Yeah.
Through a look what everybody else is doing. Just give us a chance. So we had brought it up for vote again, and it passed in the town. And now liquor is one of the good things about it is it provides a normalcy to dining at Pattis, because any nice restaurant you go to almost everywhere else in the world, you can order a drink.
Yeah.
Well, you couldn't do that at Pattis. And now the city is growing tremendously. Grand Rivers is last last October and November, Mayor Tom Moody paved every single street in the city. I mean, how many towns of 347 people are getting every street in the city paved? And not only that, Joe, we got lines. I mean, damn. I mean, we got lines. We are uptown, man. We got a couple of yellow line on one road and a couple of white lines. We never had a line in Grand River Street before.
Catching up to L.A.
Not quite, no. You know, it's the little town is. We're getting a new coffee shop.
I heard.
It's going to open Friday and Saturday. The Iron Bell Coffee Shop.
The Iron Bell Coffee
Joe,
Shop.
it's got a drive-up window.
Really?
We're a town of 350
They
people
drive
with a drive-up window now. There's
Yeah.
never been any thought of a drive-up window in Grand River.
I know my son will probably be there pretty much every other day if I know him very well. But it's called the Iron Bell Coffee Shop, and it's opening up.
It's in where the old Harley store is.
It's
Where the Iron
okay,
Kettle
yeah.
was.
Directly
Yeah.
across from the grocery store.
Bill
So-
and Michelle Gary are opening it with his sister Vida. They used to own Great Turtle Bay, and they've taken their investments, the return on selling the marina, buying more properties in town, and helping to build the town. So that's really wonderful to have that.
Yeah.
But,
We'll put a tag in there in our episode for them. And if they
Yeah.
have like the website or something, we'll make sure.
oh
we put
yeah,
that
I
on.
mean it's really pretty sharp. But we also have a little bar here in town. There's a new brewery and distillery coming to town.
Distillery.
Distillery. The same Dennis Smith from Pinnacle Construction is building the building, and it's going to be, I think, a really world-class facility here, right next to the Dairy Queen, where the old Iron Kettle used to sit and where the old City Hall used to sit.
Sure.
So that's supposed to go under construction pretty soon, and that's going to be beautiful. He built Pattis, the building Pattis.
Oh, yeah.
So he has the essence of making it fit in
Sure.
with the Iron Bell Coffee Shop and the rest of the town. So it'll be beautiful when he's done. But our CEO, Mr. Kevin Reagan, has talked with the bourbon people in Kentucky, and they are going to make Patties and Grand Rivers the #1 on the bourbon trail in the state.
Really?
So Grand Rivers is going to be the start of the bourbon trail in the future for the state. And that's with the new brewery and stuff. But Patty's is selling a lot of bourbon and moonshine now. We people love it. Taking mother's pies and turning the flavors into moonshine.
Right. We just recently.
My dad loves it. He was quite a drinker when he was alive.
We just recently had Mike Trout on an episode. Mike Trout owns Window World, but he's also somewhat of a bourbon connoisseur. He's got quite the collection. He brought some in and shared with us on the podcast there. So, and then Tristan's a big bourbon fan. Yeah, since he got of age to be able to do B
So
stuff.
you have to try.
We have a bourbon tasting.
We're almost done with the first batch of Patty's bourbon. We've almost gone through, sold it all.
Already.
So it's already becoming a collector's item.
Right.
And first of all, it's one of the very first women that's ever been put on a bourbon bottle. It's always been a man's drink.
Sure.
And Mom crossed over that line like she did so many other firsts. And her bourbon it's a little more expensive than we wanted it to be, but it's so much cost up front, developing the process of the bottle, the labels, the licensing and everything, and it takes a lot of money and about 2 years to get it to where you're actually producing a bottle of bourbon. But the more we go on, the less, hopefully, the less it be. But we're also really looking. We are working. Kevin has met with several of the distilleries in the state, and they're all going to work together to complement each other. And Patty's is going to help to do that, sell them on the bourbon trail. But I think the flavors that we've learned in this first production will go forward into more different bourbons and things. But so will the distillery. The distillery makes our moonshine and bourbons.
Okay.
at this point. They're the Silent Brigade Brewery in Paducah. So they're the ones that are going to move their distillery out here.
We are
So,
aspiring to be on the Bourbon Trail, and we'll be the westernmost point for the Bourbon Trail. The Bourbon Trail will start here in Grand Rivers
Wow.
with Pattis.
That's just another notch on the belt there, and then after so many.
yeah, because you put our 450, 475, 100,000 or whatever it is, Facebook views and stuff, along with their 750.
Sure.
That's almost 1,200,000 views for just those two all those businesses in the state. So that's pretty powerful marketing. And I know one of the things that Patty's is doing, Joe, is we are starting to help our neighbors more. I mean, Grand River's had this mine's mine, yours is yours, and now we're starting to, and a lot with again Kevin Reagan, our CEO of the company, is
Cooperative
bring,
marketing.
yeah, and he's bringing the people to talk to each other and working. And Patty's is starting to market other businesses, like we were going to help you with yours. Is trying to help other businesses because the more we can all grow, the better it is for everybody.
Sure.
And I'm really proud of that new um, evolution of being able to the town being working together. And of course, I retired on the 1st of July, and Michael Lee, is going to be is the president of Patty's now. I'm retired, and actually I'm the vice president, but he's the president, and he has been with me every day that I've been actually running the company. We've been doing it side by side. We didn't do it separately. We each have our talents that complement each other to build it to what it is today. But Mike is a very, very smart, and he has a degree in accounting and finance. So he's going to help us with that. And he loves people, and people love him. They love him more than he lets people love him. He's sort of quiet and shy, as you can see, but he's a really very, very smart man, and everybody at Patty's is really happy with the him becoming the president and Kevin being the CEO of the company, and it's working really well to make the company function really well. You may have an idea, but you can't initiate it right away.
Right. You gotta
I
have the
mean,
right timing.
trying to get the town wet, trying the town to have a theater, and now the town is the family that ran the theater for the last Bill and Sarah Minahan retired, semi-retired. They're doing it the shows privately now. But the city ended up taking over the theater, and it's been a learning experience for the city. And Brian Moody, especially the director of tourism in the city, to create a new theater environment beyond where we were. And I will share this with you that we had some breakfast people at breakfast this morning, and they went to see the Michael Jackson show that Saturday night, and they just absolutely were blown away with the professionalism and everything that we have in this town of 347 people. But it's basically happening because we're all working together. All the little businesses are coming and working together better than they ever have, and I think one of the big issues. Plus, you're getting people with money. The people that bought Green Turtle Bay have the money to enhance Green Turtle Bay's. I mean, they put another 250 dry stack slips. Well, each one of those boats up there represents a family that comes here and parties here. So it's adding to your base. Our biggest problem is that our season is so short, and the school season starting before September is terribly uncomfortable for tourism. I mean, it really, really wipes out tourism. But in the heart of the season that we should be at the height of tourism with the kids and the families, And that's sad, but bottom line, I don't have nothing to do, anything to do with the school systems. I let them make the decisions for that. But I will say that it's very hard on all of our lake businesses when the kids started yesterday. I mean, you can see how quiet it is here today. The kids have gone back to school, and it's like turning off the water almost. But they'll get, and the sad thing is, there's still another month of fun time in that swimming pool
At least.
and the lake.
Yeah. I mean,
And but they're in school in a hot building,
yeah.
and right in on anyway. That's another story. But we growing as a community. Major money is coming into the community. You know, what's the gentleman's Travis, the one that's building Eagles Landing?
I don't know his name.
I think it's Mr. Travis. I can't remember it, but he's bought the land from Marina Village and turning all of that subdivision into, condominiums and
on Kentucky Lake, looking
townhouses
west across Kentucky Lake.
on townhouses and all that does is increase the tax base
Yeah.
for the community to as a whole to function on.
Sure.
But
So circling back to Miss Patty and Mr. Bill, do you think why do you think it was so important to them to get you here? Was it because they just wanted a family business, or it's because they could trust you, or what was the driving force to that? You think? Have you ever thought about that, Abe?
Why we were called back?
Why he was so push? He was really trying to get you guys to come back and
They
start.
were in their late 50s,
Okay.
right around 60.
They
They needed some young blood.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
That's
not quite simple as that. I had three other brothers and sisters, and they chose Michael Lee and I to come.
yeah.
My dad chose us to come, and there was a
He was the
reason.
only one that went to college.
I see.
Was the one that went in
Well,
service and became an officer. They just saw some leadership qualities
And I was in
him
graduate school.
that the other children didn't have.
Yeah. Well, and then also
So
having a business degree, right?
I didn't have it when we got
At that
here.
time. So.
I got it at Murray after we arrived here.
Okay.
he's a Murray alumni.
I see. I remember.
Since I retired, since I'm 76, I've been to make sure I'm exercising a lot, and I exercise for hours in the pool every afternoon, and I'm trying to stay healthy. I'm just proud of the evolution that the company has gone through, and the fact that Michael Lee's been able to uh, be more recognized in his position as the owner of the
It's not
company.
something I want or need.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he is now the president, and he really, really enjoys that position. He goes to all the meetings and puts his 2 cents into the line. And me, I don't have to go to the meetings anymore, Joe. It's like really pretty nice, And I have complete faith in him and his decisions that he makes. But we have done it, Joe, together. I mean, we have done this. We complement each other tremendously
You were saying that earlier.
much. And me, I'm a Leo, and I love interacting with people. So we
Very introverted.
remember what we went through to get him to sit down to be part of this podcast. Sat here 2 hours
With Rich.
Rick and his wife and daughter. I mean, just 2 hours of sitting here with these people that are really big in UFO, and he loves UFO stuff. So they were big, and they fell in love with Little Grand Rivers. I mean, this man travels all over the world, and he fell in love with Little Grand Rivers and staying at my mom and dad's house, and then coming up here for breakfast. And he just fell in love with Grand Rivers, but so many people fall in love with Grand Rivers.
It's easy to fall in love with. Tristan and I got here a little early, and I said, "Well, I don't want to get up there, an hour and a half before we're supposed to be there." So we were driving around, and then my wife and I was here last weekend. Just out of the blue, she wanted to start fishing, and she didn't want to go to her spot. She wanted me to take her to some of my spots. So we ended at the little lake and all over at the dam. And I'm like, I wonder if I was talking to Tristan earlier. I said, because and fascinated with certain areas. I'm fascinated with Grand River. Cairo, Illinois, as odd as that sounds, it fascinates me because of
What it used to
the
be.
history
Love to
there
know what it
so
was
much.
in
I'm
its
just
heyday.
fascinated with it. But this town as well, and I'm like, I wonder if I would have just stayed. If I would have not went out and had where I would be in this town now, because it's just something you think about and almost miss that. Think
Well,
about missing that opportunity.
that makes me think of a saying that is a really, really good saying. Bloom where you're planted.
Right. I get that. Yeah, that's a great saying. It's just I have that.
You could have excelled right
Who
here.
knows? Who knows? Right? Yeah. Could have grew with the town. Of course, I was young and made some mistakes and things happen. But and I'm not. It's not like I moved to Los Angeles. I'm just down the road. So, but it
I
is
think of the little
amazing.
town I grew up in
Mhm.
and how I go back and I see how much it's declined.
Yeah.
And I think in my head, I could have helped that wonderful, wonderful little town
Sure.
be what Grand Rivers is if I'd stayed and worked my butt off.
Yeah.
Not likely.
Well, this town.
It had every opportunity. It had metro areas around it that could have drawn people in.
But you don't have a Patties in the middle of it.
Yeah.
But this town didn't have it either when we got here.
Sure.
Well, that's true. Maybe we could have built it there.
Going back to that beginning when you guys got here, like, starting with Miss Patty, I knew her in the early 80s and then in the 90s, and I can remember I worked side by side with her a lot because I worked in the prep areas, and she would be back there making her things. And she would get on to me because I threw too much of the onion away. She did not like waste. She was
Not
everything.
she's a depression baby.
Yeah, and she wanted everything to be used and no waste to be done. She was
Everything that wasn't used ended up in a soup.
yeah, and that's where my aunt came into play a lot of
I
times.
was the major soup maker.
Yeah.
And I used
Nothing else, you save all your scraps and make broth that's full of those nutrients and flavors, and then you strain it out to have your stock.
Yeah, yeah,
But one of my favorite soup was garbage.
yeah. I can remember that.
Garbage soup. And the people say, well, what's in the garbage soup? And I said, everything but the kitchen sink.
Everything that didn't make it to the garbage.
Everything is
Yeah.
here. Don't ask me for a recipe. It's a one-time, thing. Big 5-gallon bucket, and that was it.
Whatever you have to work with.
Sure. The so when you started Miss Patty or the Patty, it was Patty Burger, and that was basically just out of the kitchen, I guess, of her house. Is that right?
No, we did it out of the restaurant. We
Motel.
had a little kitchen in the motel, remember?
Okay.
Had
It
one
had a
dining room
little
with
Jen
20
Air
feet.
stove with the
Yeah.
Jen Air. We had a downdraft, so we didn't have to pay for a hood system. And you have to understand, we didn't really have any money. My mom and dad lost everything they owned in 1973. Everything. Their house was broken in half in 71. Had the earthquake in Granada Hills, and then my dad lost his job, and they lost everything. They got picked up at a Greyhound bus station by my father's mother, Miss Delsa Rose Tullar, and she was 82 and on a tricycle. And mom and dad got off the Greyhound bus with 3 suitcases to their name in 1973.
Mm.
She bought him a little house, a 2-bedroom house for $4,000 in Palmetto, Florida. And mom fixed it all up. Mom went to work in the school cafeteria, and my dad went to work in a trailer manufacturing assembly line.
Yeah. How old were they then?
I don't know.
Early
I
20s?
wouldn't know. That's late 50s, early 60s,
Yeah.
probably. Look at that. And so, is the painter painting in the pool? Is he out there?
I don't see him out
The little dogs out there.
Okay. So, I don't know where we're.
Well, we were talking about that, and then I guess the way I remember it, Bill Toller, your dad, he had traveled to this area for.
He became a lost verifier for the Small Business Administration's
Precursor
disaster.
to FEMA.
Okay.
Yeah. And he got the job, and there was flooding in 75 in Kentucky, and he came here and stayed in the little motel and fell in love with Grand Rivers. So they went home, sold the little house that they bought for, I think it was $8,500, and I said 4,000, but it was 8,400. They made $4,000 profit and brought it here to Grand Rivers to buy the down payment on the $19,000 motel. And Dad went on the road and worked all the time. He was gone all the time. He'd send money home to Mom to operate the business. But bottom line is, Mom didn't know how to run a business. Dad had always done that, so she was really struggling. And she was going full bore with this ice cream parlor thing. And I came back in January, right after Christmas, and started working with her. We did it together. We did everything together.
She was tenacious. When she was determined to do something, she was determined, really determined to
met
do
her
it.
when she was younger. I bet I would have loved that. Yeah, it's one of those things where, like we talked earlier, you have an idea and you have to say, at some point, you have to say, okay, let's go. You have to quit talking about it and start doing. Um, when she started that, was that kind of her idea, or that was just solely Miss Patty? Was the Patty Burger and the ice cream bar?
It was all her.
Yeah.
All her.
So it all originated directly.
Michael Lee and I were not interested at all in leaving
You think your dad?
where we were. We had really both accomplished quite a bit where we were together. And lives were going pretty well. He was going to college. I was going to graduate school, and
Making $750 an hour.
plus we both had jobs. And
We're both working, going to school.
Yeah. You think Mr. Bill might have wanted you here just because Miss Patty was having, she was doing this and needed some help, but struggled?
told me that
Yeah.
your mother needs to have help.
Yeah.
I'll send home some money to help you. But when we got here, Michael Lee went to work at the Vulcan Quarry driving a uke.
Reed Crushstone.
Yeah.
Reed Custone back then, and then he put himself through Murray State, getting a degree in accounting.
Of course, I had the GI Bill. It's the reason, probably the primary reason I joined the military. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten that degree, probably.
Yeah. I'm sure that's been a big help to the business.
And it's been a perfect one.
Yeah.
I have a degree in psychology. He has a degree in accounting, and together I do both. I'm professional BSer and storyteller, and he's an accountant figure. He does all the books, takes care of all the money.
Well, I did a long time ago.
So you still do to some degree. You oversee it as the head of the company. It wasn't, Pattis was not a staple name, or Grand Rivers was not a staple name, as you know. Like Iuka, they're not staple names. Rivers was just a little bitty podunk town that the railroad went by. But Joe, people like Bill Gary, John Henry, people that loved the town, came here, loved the town. Bill Gary built all of Green Turtle Bay and what it is today. They got 450 boats in it in that marina. There used to be about 40 boats in that marina. But then you've got people like John Henry that had the foresight to listen to me about we need parking. And the train used to come right through the center of town by Mark Newcomb's building. And that John Henry filled up all that land to make parking.
You might remember that cut before he filled it in.
I do remember that. Yeah.
And he had foresight.
Did you know that on Kentucky Lake shores, on the shores of Kentucky Lake, there used to be a Petticoat Junction water tower where the locomotives would come across the bridge, across the river, and fill up their tanks with water right there on the west side of Grand Rivers.
That's really, so much history.
And it was gone when we all got here.
Yeah,
So.
sure.
And there's been a lot of people over the years, but Tom Moody becoming the mayor. We had another really good mayor, Frank Buchanan, was a wonderful mayor, but he didn't have the vision that Thomas had. And and so when Tom became the mayor, that's when the town really started growing. And he has been at the foresight for
Forefront.
forefront, thank you, the forefront of the development of Grand Rivers at every junction. But between him and Bill Gary and myself, we and other people, but those three, Bill would write the law. Tom, I'd go get the governor to give us the money, and Tom would do the paperwork to figure out how to get the money. So we were a team that constantly helped each other. Um, and we built the bank, we built the theater, we built the jetty, we built park, we built all the
Senior
sidewalks in
Center, now
town,
the City
the
Hall.
senior citizen center. We built all of that working together. Those basically the three of us, and I know there's some other people, but Bill Gary and Tom and I and Michael Lee, we and their wives, and we were all partners, but we are building Grand Rivers, and each of us had a part in doing that.
The difference in a successful city or town and a failing city or town is community spirit and leadership.
Because you have to have that leadership to bring everyone together and make them realize that they're not
Leadership if
just
everybody's not
Yeah,
engaged.
but
and
you
they're
know,
not and they think they're competing against one another.
Joe, it hasn't always been like this.
No, not
And this is really, 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 truly since Kevin Reagan became part of this business, um, and the CEO of the company, he has the spirit to reach out to all these people, and he's building the um, relationships between the town people. He and Michael Lee. I'm a little bit of a pokey individual, you know. Michael Lee and Kevin are not that way. They're much more diplomatic sometimes than me. But at the same time, you got to remember, I was never allowed to be on the tourism commission in Livingston County.
I'm guessing I know why.
I was never allowed, even when Ralph Smith appointed me to the tourism commission in Livingston County. The board members rejected it. Two board members specifically rejected it. But then I became the president of the State Restaurant Association. And I was sitting on the board of directors of the State Tourism Association. And I knew Governor Patton. Governor Bashir loved Pattis. He's helped, those governors have helped. The Republican governors, I'm sorry, haven't really done much to help us, but the Democratic governors have done a tremendous amount to help Grand Rivers become what it is.
Well, Steve Bashir grew up in Dawson Springs. So he grew up coming to the lakes here and visiting Pattis in the early years.
And
That's
now
gotta be
his son's governor, and his son showed a great deal of respect by doing what he did the other day. But I mean, you couldn't ask for a greater shake of a hand or respect from that. But you have to you just have to enjoy what you're doing, Joe. Mike and I enjoy getting up every morning, go to work. He goes one place, I go to another place, and we see each other a couple times during the day. And then we go for walks in the evening and sometimes in the morning together. But for the most part, now that he's president, he hadn't been able to go for the walks. He's so busy. But I have another friend that goes with him because at 76 and 90 degrees out there, I don't need to really be walking by myself. So it's nice to have another friend that I've met, Jason, and he's new to town, and then his dad had a boat, a yacht over at Green Turtle Bay, and he had a.
Look at cookies.
Those are great.
Aren't they? Yeah, homemade cookies.
You make them or
Huh?
you make them? Or?
No, Shannon does.
Oh yeah, let her know. Those are awesome. I'm a foodie. Because of you, you taught him how to cook, and then he made really good food. And I had a problem.
The other day, she made 7 dozen. So all gone.
All gone.
Every one of them was gone. You asked me, about why my dad, or what he was thinking when he did it. My mother and I were very close growing up. My mother, my brothers had other things to do. My sister had other things to do, but my mom and I did a lot of things. Played bridge together.
Went to church together.
Went to church together.
The other family didn't go.
Mm-hmm.
And I Dad knew that the person that would work best with Mom was probably me. I just want to answer the question that I think it was because my dad understood Mom and I were pretty close, and it would probably work better with the two of us, which obviously it has.
Obviously.
Obviously it has. Yeah.
Do you think Miss Patty had foresight as to where we were talking earlier about vision, having a vision, and it's easy to have a vision for next year, maybe. You can set a budget, you can do all these things. And maybe it's easy to have a vision for the next 3 or 4 years. But when you go back to that little kitchen making ice cream and hamburgers, and the vision to where you're now, of course she couldn't have had that, but at some point she had to come say, this is going to be bigger than I thought.
In 1993, I had a friend, a dear friend. His name was Roger Morris from what was the little town he's from?
He's from
Carsville.
Carsville.
From Carsville. And he would be able to, we could sit there and talk like you and I are doing. He would take and what I had in my head and put it on paper for me.
We've got a bunch of them right in here.
There's a bunch of them on the walls in here. What we were dreaming in '93. So you figure from '77 to '93, there was that growing period. Of course, we've had Pattis on the pier, and for 5 years, from like
84 to 88.
84 to 84 years, I guess. And then we had Pattis of Glasgow from
Also 84 to 88.
No, it was only 2.5 years I'm there. So it was after the pier had already opened. But so we had at one time we had 3 restaurants going across the state, and we were really struggling financially with things. But I got involved with some con artists. I've done it. Con artists, just.
Yeah.
And bottom line, I stayed in Glasgow for 2.5 years, but it was a tough nut to crack. But I wanted to come home.
Yeah.
And so we closed that one down and we came home, and I learned a lot.
I can remember going out on the river or the lake on a barge doing some catering. Do you remember those times?
On a barge?
It was a barge, and it was the lady who ran it. I can't remember her name. I think it's Jill Sins, but I'm sure that's not it. She was very.
When my brother was involved in the company, he might have done that because he did a lot of catering.
Yeah.
He liked doing catering. So he might have done that.
I remember catering on a catamaran over at Green Turtle Bay.
We went out.
Patsy was in the middle of that.
Okay. Can't remember her name. She was a very small lady. Very small.
Little Jan.
Jan, that's it. See, I was close.
She still lives up in Lake City.
Oh, really?
She's getting pretty feeble.
We went out on a barge. I know at least once. Maybe I seem like it was more than that, but I know once, and there was a lot of
big yacht for an Arab person.
It might have been, but it seemed like there was Asian.
Green Turtle Bay. It was at the dock at Green Turtle Bay. It was a big yacht.
It may have been.
He hired us to do all this stuff and stiffed us.
Oh, really?
Never paid for any of it. We took food for a week over there.
About a week.
I'm sorry. I'm a bad memory.
Yeah,
I went out.
That's what I think you're talking.
Maybe that's what I do.
Yeah, I did that. Beautiful food thing for a week. 5 days.
I worked with her a few different times, and she was
a man for sure.
Was that?
He was a
he was,
for
yeah.
sure.
But now Jan was she had to have things done a certain way. She was very
She lived with lists, and
she
she
was
was
a small
very
she
organized.
was a small lady, but she was a boss, and you knew it.
She retired a few years ago as the longest employee Patty's ever had,
Really?
37 years.
7 years.
And then Mitzi Prater just retired in July with me.
She's been with us since the middle '90s.
Yeah, she just retired too, so she's probably second.
So do you remember the time where you made the transition from patty, from the burger, to the more to the word close, to the
Yeah,
I mean the world famous 2-inch pork chop.
there used to be a boardwalk that you had to park and then walk up the steps to the boardwalk to enter into the motel. And the restaurant had the little dining room that mom had built on as a living room had 20 seats in it. That's all we had was 20 seats. Well, my dad would come home from working on the road and he had a Webcor kettle and he loved to cook food, the family's dinner, on this Webcor kettle. Well, the people kept coming up the walkway, and Dad would show off what he was doing to them. Of course, we had the pig next to him as well. So
Yeah.
they were good talking to Mr. Bill, and he was all part of the character in making Patty's grow. But anyway, people wanted to eat what we were eating.
Yeah.
So that's where the a restaurant started evolving into what it is today. Is just eating food that we were eating.
Yeah.
And it got over the last, I would say, 20 years. Nothing's really changed because my dad always said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Sure.
So we've been doing pretty much the same recipes that Mom and Mike and Dad and I created together to make the foods that are there at Patty's. Now, Kevin, there is a culinary chef that graduated from Johnson and Wales and with a degree in finance, which has been helpful because it's one thing to run a business, it's another thing to be able to keep the money organized. And he's very good at that. But he is a certified chef and one of the best culinary schools in the country. And he has helped me build Thomas Lawson's, one across the street, which we built basically to when the restaurant burned down. We needed someplace to try to feed the people. Well, it grew until what it is today, which the food is absolutely divine over there. He's a wonderful chef, but that's his playground. He gets to play and change the menus and do different fun things and introduce different things. But he's really helping take Patty's into the next generation because he understands bourbon. He loves bourbon. He's a bourbon fanatic. What do you call it? Not a
Connoisseur?
huh?
Connoisseur?
Connoisseur. Thank you. And he met like just the last couple of weeks with like 6 or 8 or 10 bourbon people, and he's learning even more. And they're working together, and they're going to help develop Patty's brands of flavored bourbons, like with taking the same essences of what we've done with Mom's pies and the moonshines. Now we're going to take them and add them to the bourbons, different bourbons.
I see.
And if you try Mother's bourbon, one of the things that people say about it, it has just a touch of sweetness to it. And I said, that's because my mother dipped her finger in the damn barrel and swirled it around, and it's got Patty's sweets in it.
Yeah.
It's just got a tad of sweetness to it, which is, as a lady, presentation of a lady and bourbon, I thought it was perfect. So I think people have really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But they're also collector items now.
Yeah.
So, and I noticed, another thing. Let me give a big shout out to the food sub companies, the food companies, Gordon Foods and Paducah Performance Foods, and what's the other one? Oh, anyway, they're hugely helpful in not making us successful. But then the Pepsi Cola Company, has been a magnificent partner for Pattis.
Hmm.
They did the Eclipse 1 million cans, I think it was, during the eclipse.
Yeah.
When the first eclipse came, and they sold them out in like 36 hours.
Really? Yeah.
As collector items.
Yeah.
But they were Pattis.
That's cool.
Celebrating the eclipse.
That's neat.
And now they're going to do, Kevin just negotiated a contract with them they're going to do some other ones for us like that.
Yeah.
And this time they're going to produce 3 million cans.
I think.
But they're collector items,
Yeah.
they're collector things.
Well,
And
Pattis has become such a, a name that's
businesses want to be a part of our family's name. And we welcome that. We know, well, not everybody, but we try to welcome as many as we can. And that's a growing division of the company, that ability to create Patty's name as a beacon to people to find this area of the world.
Yeah. Well, I think
it's probably one of the broadest and best known beacons in the world.
Most likely. Yeah.
In small town America especially. And we're going to grow it. We've got more plans on the drawing boards. We're going to do a bunch of things this winter. Christmas should be gorgeous again. And then,
well, you had said something last time about the celebration of lights and how you were.
Yes, I celebrate the lights of Christ instead.
Kept those on all year.
Christmas. When I've carried the lights on throughout the years, because so many people hear about it, but they get in November, December, so they don't really get to come. So now they get to come and see the lights all year round. The problem is, Joe, that the sun doesn't go down till 9 o'clock, and the restaurant closes at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
I mean, not as many people see it as I like to, but as we'll get closer to December, the lights will be on. And they're good. My grounds maintenance man, Ricky, who's been with me for many, many years, is in charge of the Christmas displays and everything. And he said they're going to be fabulous this year. So that makes me excited. But we're also talking, we're going to put in excavator machines like a backhoe and a track hoe and a dump truck and what is a D9 tractor, and we're going to build a big sand pile down by where the pond is, and we're going to let the kids rent these little tiny ride-on machines.
I got one that's going to be here for sure. It finds out.
And so that's the new thing coming to Patty's this year, and we've hired an architect to design the water systems that I've always had in the drawing since '93. He's actually laying out the water system and how it will be, because we have a really big well up there that we can produce a lot of water to make the waterfall run, but you have the pipes going, recirculating it down the stream. So there'll be all these beautiful sidewalks to walk around on, and people can walk by the stream or sit by the stream to relax and enjoy life. But we're going to put more shops and things out there as we grow, and so we're really working towards that. We move the animals, and every time we move the animals, we are growing. And one of the things we hope to do is take Elma Parrish's log cabin that's up there up on the hill here, and bring it down piece by piece and rebuild it here at Pattis on the hilltop overlooking Lighthouse Landing.
Wow.
And it'll be a welcoming beacon of the historic nature and the fact that this log cabin is welcoming you like the other log cabins we already have all around. So those are exciting things for our future. We are finally getting past COVID. Seems to be that we're finally recovering some from COVID. COVID knocked dining down tremendously.
Yeah.
And it's not just that the government shut us down 35%, but the people's eating habits changed. So by 8 o'clock, everybody's done eating. Where when you were growing up, you were on the lake till 9 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
You wanted to eat when you got off the lake at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I can remember.
And it isn't like that anymore.
I can
So
remember still cleaning up at 2:30 in the morning.
yeah,
We stayed open so late,
yeah,
Yeah.
and it ain't like it.
No, I can't imagine.
No, it's by 8, mostly we're done. But that may change. We're getting later.
Mhm.
I know the other day we served until 8:30 just because people kept coming, so we kept serving them.
Sure.
And that's good if you can build the season up more. But I do think that, Joe, the marketing is also learning how to market your business. We've got a lot of years of experience. We know our customers really well. And through AI and some of the other things that we're developing, Pattis is going to be very, very close to be able to communicate with their customers on a regular basis.
Yeah.
This special, this is another special, or this is just arriving, or this is coming, or the Delta Queen's coming in, or American Queen's coming ashore,
Right.
or there's the Michael Jackson shows in town. We're doing all these things. Or like Marina Day, they had Marina Day at the marina in Green Turtle Bay last weekend, and there were a bunch of people watching the fireworks and stuff. So your Patties is helping those companies build their build their brands out.
Sure.
So we have more people can have more things to do because it's needed, and I'm excited by that. But
I can see
I can see there's a good future for us.
I can see the success of Patty's being that partly because you've done that to the community instead of just focusing all your efforts on that just the restaurant itself, you focused on other areas. So when people come here, especially before when you were having there was no alcohol here, so that had to be a struggle. But when you come to Patty's, you can have dinner, you can have a movie, you can go to the lake, you can walk, you can go to the docks over here with the nice sidewalks and everything. It's all built into a full experience, more than just a night out to eat. I think that's really one of the
It's the
things
difference
that's
between
fascinating.
one rose and a bouquet of roses.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
It's grown into a bigger arrangement. But it's also like we don't have water slides. So if you go over and you work with the Eddyville, what is it called?
Venture River.
Venture River.
Mm-hmm.
We offer packages with the hotel and Venture River, which is helping Venture River. Kentucky Shores is another one. Maggie's Golf, you start helping them. And we're working towards where the little marinas and the little village motels all around the lakes. We want to introduce them like when my father used to drive around in his van and take a rosebud to this little motel or this little motel or this little resort. He would take rosebuds and put fresh rosebud, and he was a charmer in his overalls and his straw hat with his little pig.
Mm-hmm.
And they would put brochures. He would let them put brochures out, and so they helped us grow. So now we're going to go back to the roots where we came from and start sharing Patty's platform and those people on Patty's platform to hopefully make the whole area grow as we start to develop this new part of the company that has that ability to do that.
Sure.
We haven't had that ability really, but now we're starting to. And I think that's going to make Patty's grow, and I think it's going to make the lakes grow, which is good for the lakes area because, at one time, there's a lot of people here in the lakes area.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we work together, we're a bigger force of happiness,
Sure.
satisfaction, customer satisfaction. And that's the whole point of things. Being in a service degree area is customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
I am very, 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 Michael and I are both very proud of the numbers that Patty's gets as far as ratings and people's customer satisfaction. And we really try to um, address any complaints that anybody has
Yeah.
and try to fix them and make them happier. We really do. But of course, there are some people you just can't.
You can't make it.
You know that. You'll
Sure.
find that.
No,
There's just some people you can't please. But for the most part, my team of people are work very harmoniously together. They really enjoy, just like you did when you were younger, being there. I mean, heck, you spend more time with each other than you ever did.
Sure. You do with your family sometimes, yeah.
40 hours a week, you're there working at the job, at least.
Well, Michael said it last time he was talking about, there is no real secret to success other than you have to be diligent about satisfying your client. You give them the experience that they're going to return for. That wasn't his exact words, but to some degree, that's what he says, and that's one of the important things that you had brought up
You have
last
to
time.
be guest centric.
Yeah,
Everything you do has to revolve around that guest.
sure. And after this long, you kind of have a really good insight as to what that guest is looking for. I get to some degree.
I think, Joe, a couple of important things I've learned. Life is like a quarter. You hold up a quarter in your hand, and you're arguing about this thing that you have in your hand, whatever it is. And you're saying it's George Washington, and I'm saying it's a bird's tail,
Hmm.
and you're arguing about the same thing. So often, you get in an argument about the same thing, but you don't take the time to turn the quarter over and try to see see what the other person is seeing and describing.
Wow.
That in and of itself is a jewel of psychology for business people to work with. I mean, you've got to be able to try to step into the other person's shoes and understand what they're saying to you. Don't always make it just about you. You make it about the both of you. The other thing is that I've learned that we have five senses: sight, sound, hearing, taste, feeling. The more a business can touch or stimulate those five senses on a person, the greater the opportunity for their success.
How some of those things like the mile high meringues and the 2-inch pork chops, those are some of the staples that you're well known for. Were those things just something that was a normal thing that Miss Patty was doing at a time, or was it something that's like, okay, let's try this?
No,
No,
we
they
used
had
to cook
always,
2-inch thick stuffed pork
yeah,
chops
and
for
she
the
just
guests
introduced
that
that.
my father would bring to the house that he was
I see.
entertaining. And that was one of her signature items was the 2-inch thick pork chops. So one day we had like 8 people come when we only had 20 seats, and we were having stuffed pork chops,
Mhm.
and I didn't have any more stuffed pork chops because we only made like 6 or 8 of them. And the man was really frustrated with me. I want a pork chop. He said, "Don't you have any way to cook me one of these pork chops?" And I said, "Well, I guess I could cook it on a grill for you." And so, bottom line, I was a intern with Curtis Grace at the 9th Street House, and he taught me how to do all sorts of things with seasonings, and especially the pork chop seasoning. Um, and anyway, I took what he had taught me, but Mother was famous for her gravies. My mother made really rich, tasteful, flavorful gravies,
Hmm.
and that's what made her food so good. But the pork chop, I didn't have any more, so I told the man I'd try to cook it. Well, 45 minutes later, it was as black as your t-shirt. Okay, charbroiled from one end to the other. And it ended up, he loved it.
Wow.
So then I had to figure out, well, how do you cook this thing and not get it so burnt looking? And that took quite a while to figure that out.
Sure.
But we have evolved it over the years till now it's like the signature dish there.
Sure.
But the Mile High meringue pies, Mom liked to stand out in a crowd.
Sure.
She was very colorful.
Very much so.
And when you walked into a crowd where she was at, you could hear her talking because her voice was like, oh,
Very distinctive.
very, very, all right,
Rasping.
rasping, yeah. And, so she came up with that in her head.
Yeah.
And she had read something about cream of tartar, that if you use cream of tartar, it'll make the meringues stand up higher. So that's when they did. And so we had mile high. I had mile high meringue pie before Martha Stewart had a high meringue pie.
Right.
Okay. That being said, that was Mom was the first one. Same thing with the flower pot bread. She was sitting there in her bed one night, and she used to read late at night. She loved to read. Her mom did too. But she'd sit and read. And she came up with this idea because we had flower pots everywhere because Dad loved gardening and everything. So she thought, what if I try to make bread in a flower pot? And so she got a flower pot and she fooled around with it. The first loaf of bread stuck like a new cast iron unseasoned skillet. It just everything stuck to it. It was awful. And trying to get the bread and the dough out of there was like crazy. But she again redefined it and redefined it and redefined it. But it's still the same. It's just we know how to treat the pots. We know how that after 5 pots, you can't use them anymore. They're going to fall apart. Oh, here's Mr. Carlson.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Carlson.
You know Joe and Tristan?
I think we met last time. He was trying to help us with good to see you. You kind of, if I'm not mistaken, you're the IT now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Sure, that's
Sit here a minute.
sure there's plenty of IT.
Here's Chris. Chris Carlson. He's the head of IT for Pattis.
Yeah.
At this point in life, but
There's a
we've
lot.
known him for at least 20 or 25 years, and he's grown to help us operate the company on a daily basis. But why don't you ask him a few questions about growing up with Pattis?
Yeah. You move that mic over to
Well, he was actually born the year Patty's opened.
Oh, really?
Yeah, born in '77. That's how I remember Patty's
You can.
for staying here.
That's got to be a pretty big deal because Patty's, the restaurant itself, is so broken up, and then you got the outside with all the shops and things integrating all that together. Pretty
Yeah,
handy.
so majority of it's linked up via fiber optic. Some of it's wireless point to point. So it just depends when it was built and what was available at the time.
So I know that there's lots of times when systems go down, you have backups here. So if a system goes down on a Saturday night at 7:30, you're still able to run tickets, or do you go break out the old pad and paper?
That varies too.
Yeah.
I think last time we had that, we were breaking out paper.
Yeah. So
And there isn't any paper to be found.
gets a little
We
tougher.
couldn't find any paper to write a receipt on because the computers couldn't work, so they wouldn't print a receipt. You couldn't take any credit card slips because nobody had the old, slide the credit card thing. We had a couple of the old machines around, but nobody could find any paper anywhere, and no one had any paper that we could do the. And so it was really pretty difficult to figure out how to deal with that. I don't know what you all came up with eventually.
Well, I mean, and at times, they kind of do still the old paper thing. I mean, we can take a card, the system we'll say saves it, and then when it comes back online, it tries to process
you batch it then.
But if it fails,
Yeah,
keep trying to hit it so many times.
And
But yeah, you can take some losses that way.
yeah,
Yeah, because you don't get a decline back and they're gone. So
that's when your life is really busy when stuff like that happens. I'm guessing trying to get things back up as soon as possible because one night could be a pretty big.
it can be.
Yeah,
Because I mean,
frustrating.
you have 6 gift shops down. If you count ice cream shop and grist mill, 4 restaurants. Now we use Open Table
Okay.
for reservations.
Yeah.
That's why you'll see them in the front with iPads because it's on all the reservations and they can move people around based
Quickly.
upon what you have on walk-ins and things like that. And I never saw or knew the kitchen back in the 80s.
Before, yeah, it was
so all
quite
I kind of
different.
know is what they have
Yeah.
now.
I'm shooting for another 20 years at least. So my grandmother worked until she was 94. Remember Grandma?
Right.
Remember old Grandma?
I remember
Yeah.
pushing the wheelchair back.
Yeah,
I would go get her in
pushing
the
her
mornings.
wheelchair
And,
back and forth from the pink tractor where she lived.
yes.
And by God, you better have her food ready when she gets there.
She was.
She was blind as a bat running the gift shop. I know it's hard to say, but she did until she was 94.
Yeah.
The day she couldn't come to work, she died 10 days later.
Yeah.
But she would put her hand out like this, and she could only see out of the corner of her eyes like this, and she started pouring that salt on that hand. Remember? And I mean, there was a pyramid of salt.
Well.
And then she'd throw it on the food and to give it flavor, she said. And I swear to God, the reason she lived to be 94 and was never sick, never sick, was because she's salt cured like an old country ham. There wasn't a germ one that could live in her ass.
That makes sense.
Maybe the scientists are taking us eating salt away from us, so we get more sick.
Maybe.
I don't know, but but by God, if she didn't have her dinner ready, and if it wasn't cooked just right, it's like the whole world could be moving like this in a whirlwind. It didn't make any difference. Remember, you better take her home when she's done with dinner. She's ready to go. And then she and my father and old Jack Reynolds would sit in that house and drink and drink and drink. And grandmother would stir that pot about shit. She would stir up that shit pot with Jack Reynolds.
What exactly happened down there? Well, I don't know. I mean, I talked to him and blah, blah, blah. He asked about you guys and da-da-da-da-da, more questions, blah, blah, blah.